Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Of course, back here with Far Shot. I know we said we were only doing one more video before the end of year, but Copper's been absolutely crushing it. I saw some good feedback, and I reached out and I said, "Hey, do you want to squeeze maybe one more in?" And of course, I got Far Shot to agree. So here we are doing one video here before Christmas. Far Shot, first things first. How are you?
Hi, thank you for having me here. Of course, it's always pleasure to talk to you. We always talk about good things happening in the market, and this is another one. Happened
Yeah,
last
hey,
night.
talk to me. Letting people know. We'll do some copper stuff. I took some questions out of the chat that I've been seeing. Got a few here lined up. Some good ones, some deep ones. We'll see if Farshad's willing to give us some insight. But first things first, this copper price. Holy smokes! I think it's like 8-year highs or something. Above
Yes,
360. Farshad, what are your thoughts?
I believe it hasn't hit the market yet. It's just precedent to go higher in the new year. I believe we're going to see 10 cents in a month, every month going on top of that until the resistance comes in. But the demand, you can check the charts and the volume from 10 years ago, it's almost triple until today. And unbelievably, they bring it down because we are still trading copper on paper. It means stocks of, CMX and other sources. And they don't have real copper to provide. It still is paper trading. But the moment people say, hey, listen, I need my copper, it's going to hit the roof.
Yeah, no, awesome. It's true. Copper looks crazy. You said you're prepping. We've talked about it before, prepping for electric vehicles, infrastructure, you name it. I'm curious here, and I got to bug you, and I see people mentioning it in the chat. There's always screenshots of copper prices. What does this mean to Doubleview? We talked before, I think months ago, where you're like, every cent is, I think you said $10 or $20.
22 plus
There you go. So are you saying,
in
and
gold.
that's of course what it means to, the hat property. Uh, so you're saying 10 cents, like quick math, 10 times 20. You say that's like $200 being added on top of, kind of gold
Yes,
price.
yes. Every month we see that. I expect to see that. Here is what I did with Doubleview. About 5 years ago, we have big shareholders that they kept the stock, and he was mine manager at Grasberg. Now, right now, Grasberg is shut down. He's one of my dear friends and never sold any stock. He's even still he's buying and he's in retirement mood, but still he's going. He always, 5 years ago, he told me, I hope next year copper is going to be good. I was telling him, I'll be very heartbroken if we see copper goes through the roof because we're not ready. We're not ready. 6 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, we weren't ready.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, from 2 years ago until now, we're getting our story lined up. The deposit now is showing. We have a lot at stake. Right now, perhaps we have the largest footprint of a copper deposit in a safe jurisdiction on a flat ground that can be accessible, and no one else has it. I haven't seen signatures like this. We have proven that it works. This is a signature to the deposit, and it works, and no one else has it. This is our year. That's why I'm bullish right now, because I know that they have no way to go on another deposit, the ones that they are listening now to, I believe. Hi to you. And they have no other way. We got it.
Talk to me. Obviously everyone's copper to $5, gold to 3,000. Let's just talk about current and maybe even give a discount. Let's talk about copper at even below 350, right? How great is that to the hat property, to Doubleview? Talk to me. and talk to the people just to give them some insight. Even copper at $3, how beneficial is a property like the Hat? Is there still potentially economics? Talk to the people who are like, does copper need to be at $4? There's questions like that I see, and I'd love to get your insight.
No, copper has to be above $3. So that to make it a project like us, to make it economic. Plus, we have the gold too. We have two things in the game. We have a little bit of silver. We're coming with the cobalt as well. I have a very good confidence on that. We did initial review on the data, and our metallurgist is confident that he can put it in processing and we can use that 15%. But every penny goes on the copper. We're talking about a very large dollar on the property, very, very large. If everything works out, everything works great, I see this project to be 150 years mine life. This is how large it is, and it has to be large amount of dollars in it. One more thing, why copper? Gold is really flavor of the market all the time. But there is one thing, if you look at all the major mining companies, they became majority on the copper. They never made it on any other way. We have majors on gold, we have majors on the other commodities, but the ones they really made it big, they made it big on copper. Because copper, when it comes and we have it, it's 150 years mine life. And every year, every day, a lot of money changes hands just processing, running the deposit like ours, which is very, very important. I like to see that day, and I think I will see it very soon.
No, awesome. So cool. I mean, you answered the question there. You like to see copper above $3. No, honestly, it doesn't look like it's going the opposite way. So that's interesting. That was a good question that was coming up. And you added on, of course, there's other things there. Anything else you want to talk about copper? Or
Yeah, I am hoping that the next time that we talk about the copper, it happened imminently. I'd like to show the volume over time, how the volume has increased. The trading volume plays a big role in the future of projects like ours, that we have a big shot at it to be a mine. That plays a big role. That's what I like in the next video or the video after. I bring the chart and I focus on it, and we can talk about the copper. I saw my words were repeated last night, and I have it from a year ago. I predicted this year, end of this year, and next year. I put it on the graph and I put super cycle. Yesterday I saw it floating around on websites, a super cycle. We are already at the beginning of it.
Perfect. No, good. Let's move on to some questions people had. I think look, copper's looking good.
Sure.
Everyone knows it's looking good, and hey, that's awesome for Doubleview. Here, I'll start with the first question, just as a good laugh. When's Farshad gonna get a new mic?
I hope this one is good.
No. We get a new one for Christmas there. So that was a good one. I needed to mix up the good laughs there.
Yes.
So here are the exciting questions. So when is the cobalt recovery study results expected? And also, are there other metals included in the study?
Yes, the initial review that I needed that imminently to come to us, it was the cobalt. But yes, there are palladium and of course copper and gold. They're going to go to this processing, and we need to know all of those, because once this project changes hand to majors, they want those kind of information, even in a small amount, to be reviewed. We have to send eventually tons of material to the lab, so we know all of those. They are really important in processing. And I won't expect more than this cobalt that we have, more than 50% of that to be recoverable, which is a great amount. If it is, none is important to me, unimportant to me, I should say. But I think it's going to come out and we're going to see that fairly soon.
Cool. The other part of the guy's question here is, when can the market expect results? You know, is this a quick turnaround? What's the turnaround on something like this?
On something like that, normally, because it's a processing, they have, let's put it this way, they have to make a mini plant for our job. And that mini plant means they have to process it as if they want to sell it tomorrow. And it has to go to the processing, and the metallurgist is going to give them the method how to process this. And it plays a role in the future in a smelter, building the smelter, how the smelter should be fed and worked. And it takes, hard to say, nowadays I'm expecting our results come in. My geologist is just really phoning me this morning, Mr. Eric Austin, and he says, what is happening? I expect to see this ones like a month ago. I told him, it's out of my control. We're trying to get them because we need them, not only for the market, but I need to process them. I need to work on them for 2-3 weeks to plan for the future, and we haven't got them. These ones are the same. My hope is, since we have submitted them, the date that we can announce it is about 6 weeks to 2 months.
Okay, so cool. So you guys are, really the long-winded answer to the question is, 6 weeks to 8 weeks away from having some of those studies back, which is awesome.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Moving on here, someone asked for a comment on some of the First Nations, and really how those conversations are going. Is there anything to be worried about? Are the conversations going well? Have they gone well? Anything like that?
The First Nation communication is something that has to be done in BC all around the world. It's a normal course of action. We have hired Mr. John Belheimer. He is First Nation himself. He's very pro at it. He's communicating with the First Nations of the area, and we'd like to have it in writing, something on paper, so we can show it to the world. I've always been a fond of First Nations at work to benefit from this project everywhere. It's not the first year that I have been involved with them. Since 2008. Possibly for several years, I had every employee I had were from First Nation before the hat happens, and we would like to get this relationship even stronger somehow and getting things going. People from the area constantly phoning me from the community. They're always, working with us. We like to give them business. We like to give them opportunity to increase their expertise.
Would you say like the relationship's good? I think that's more, really where the question's coming from. You expect no problems. Things are going well at this time.
No, I expect no problems, I believe.
Cool.
Yes.
We'll leave it there. Here, so before we hop into, I know we want to do a little share screens for one of these questions. I'll jump in. We'll come back. So here, word for word. The new ozone has quartz content in stockwork veins and in fractures, which is significantly different from the Lyle zone, which is 1.5 kilometers away. Can you comment on why the geology would be different in this new zone?
Yes, we have studied through our 5 PhD geologists worked on this, and we found out we have 2 or possibly 3 regimes of mineralization on the property. There is a differentiation in between them, and there's a fault happening. It's just basically they're connected to the same feeder, that this feeder gets opportunity to bring quartz to one side and no quartz to the other side. I don't have the crystal ball yet. We are suspicious of some samples, but normally the quartz happening, it comes with a lot of gold because of the situation it is. And we know that around the world, The other side is the same porphyry system with different criteria. Let's see. The assays will call the shot at the end of it.
Hey, good expectations. I think a good little answer, good little teaser answer, and we'll see the results and we'll be able to judge more from there. Now, here the exciting one. Wanted to give people some insight info here before Christmas, and I'll read the question before we hop into it. The 3D IP settings have said to been set on high to only focus on the higher grade mineralization. If the 3D IP settings were set to something typical of a porphyry cutoff grade setting, what would the IP diagram look like? And what would the areas between the Lyle and the ozone look like?
Okay, that's a good question. Very good question. I will bring the graph up. In a nutshell, when we have the IP, we have to bring it to the highest values, and those highest values mostly should be connected with the sulfide, because sulfides having higher chargeability in the ground. So we shrunk it down to have the highest confidence in when we are drilling them. I'd like to, if you allow me, to bring you the 3D that we have in here and share it with you. So in order to show you where we are, I'd like to put this topography on it. This is the south of the property, and this is the north of the property. And at the bottom, you see this IP in there. Tentatively, those are the drilled areas, and those are mostly in red. They are the highest copper gold values. They come together on our property exceptionally, like on this side. And this area is the Lyle zone, and this is the new discovery, which is the ozone. I show you what is happening in here. I increase the elevation on the IP, and this is the IP that we have the highest confidence in them, because anytime we drilled them, we had luck, but there are exceptions. I point out to this area that you can see it from here. You see it has not been covered by the IP. IP has not shown in those drill holes. Yet we had very, very strong mineralization. We look at it from down below, and so it tells you, and it tells the world, that it doesn't mean those areas that there are low in IP chargeability, there is no mineralization. All it means, those areas that we have in high chargeability, by drilling, we have proven that they are mineralized. And we have proven that several times. This area, these two areas, this is the bottom of the line, which is about 1,200 meters. This is about 1,200 meters. They should be connecting to some source together. And I show you where this area is. This is the topography. I'm going to fade that topography away so you can see there's a differentiation between the geology, which this line is somehow like this. There's a major fault happening in here, and yet we don't know how it operates. And we have mineralization in this area that we've done, and we had very little mineralization in this area. Now we know it. We did this drill holes way before this IP happened to us, and this is the greatest thing happened even to Doubleview. So this is, in layman terms, we have three sources of mineralization or generation of mineralization. This area is Lyle, this is Hoy, and this is ozone. Most probably this is going to be the ozone mineralization. And on the Hoy, we are very confident on that, and the reason we are very confident on that is we have about 500 meters of exposed rock that we have sampled it. The samples go up to 9 grams per ton gold and 4 or 5% copper, 0.5% cobalt in that area. We think that's some sort of IOCG type deposit, And yet I'm very confident on that. We haven't gone drilling yet because we have a plan. My plan is to close off on this so we can do a resource calculation in the new year. And here we go and poke several holes so we gradually get a handle on that, how the deposit is, the same as Lyle. Now on Lyle, I'm very confident we drill it, we know where the deposit is, how to drill it. I want to have the same confidence on this one. Then once we get a hang of it, let's say 3-4 holes drilled on that, then we drill this one as well. This one is a very high grade system that we've seen it, at least on the surface, 550 meters or so. It's stretched over this system, and we have sampled all of that, and we know it.
Yeah. Here, so just to, for the person who's not a geologist, really, so, where the question also came from, really, and obviously amazing, this is the most confident part of the IP, what you see here, right?
Yes.
We're getting questions, and this question definitely says, what would the area between the Lyle and the ozone look like? And you're saying that there is mineralization in multiple parts on the property where it doesn't necessarily show up on the IP.
Absolutely. Right now, what you see in these blocks that the IP has been modeled, those are the blocks that we drill and we have highest confidence. But in between, you see the red areas as this model turns. Those red areas are outside this pink IP shown on the screen. And those red areas are absolute beautiful mineralizations. Drill hole 26, 27, 22, part of 23, and they're all mineralized. And we don't know what's happening in between this deposit.
We announced, obviously, there's a new discovery, on the Half property, connecting really the O to the Lyle. Can we see what that, like, do you have an IP, what that would look like? And again, a less confident IP, obviously.
Yes, let's connect them. Let's show that on screen.
Perfect.
So this is, you see it, as we increase this, at some point this is connected below to Lyle itself, and I believe this area, because of the samples that we've taken, there is a connection between these two. But the degree of confidence goes lower as we connect them.
Right.
As we connect these things. So this is with lesser confidence and lower values. But you see, at some point they should get to a source in here. How far that source is, I really don't know. It could be right here too, because the mineralization can be everywhere between the two.
Interesting. But it's very common that, of course, there is a source under that connects them both. And is it the word common, or is it almost always, like, what's the, as a geologist who's seen a ton of these things, what's your expertise? Is there always something connecting? Is there a possibility they aren't connected? What's the expert opinion here?
Okay, so when an intrusive comes to the near surface, there's a process happening. The meteoric water goes, or fluid, goes near this, takes the copper, gold, and goes up. Where are the places it can go up? Through fractures, faults, and etc. Now faults are happening several times throughout millions of years, and this meteoric water takes this material up. Sometimes this connection with outside world, if you want to call it, happens in two areas. Sometimes it's just one chute feeder comes to the system, sometimes twice, and they should be somehow connected with this intrusive. We see two systems on the left and the right. They're connected with the intrusive down below. That's why I believe they should be connected, but there's no guarantee. It could be on both sides of one system, but I believe they are connected.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Well, hey, the IP looks crazy like this, and I'm sure that the further you go out, you just get a huge pink block. Right? So cool.
Yes.
Well, this is a good little insight again for people. We got great feedback the first time you did one of these, so I appreciate the fact that you've done it again, and hopefully we can do more later. Is there anything else you wanted to say, before we close things off? Anything you wanted to address? Any questions you're seeing that I missed? Or anything you wanted to say before kind of Christmas and holidays?
I believe we have covered everything. If you look at the model right now in the red area, the red that I brought next, it has covered some of the mineralization that around the drill holes that I showed you. Now they are hidden in the system, and this mostly representing a better volume for the system, which is really high, but we want to examine that, let's say, after about, if you are going to stay on this project for 2 years, after the third year, then we're going to go and drill this kind of anomalies and lower confidence on that. And it really works. It really works. I point out to something, this drill hole, you see, we call it, no, it didn't have mineralization. Yes, it did. At the bottom of it, right in there, we entered the mineralization, but at the time, we didn't have this IP to know it better and continue. Otherwise, that would have been also inside the system. One more thing, we're coming close to Christmas and holidays. I don't know if we are going to do another video because you always push me. I should wake up the next day and you come in here, Farshad, let's do a video because
Christmas
this
morning,
happened.
we're doing a video now.
For sure. I love to talk to people during Christmas because it's been, there are many negative things happening in the market, but it's been a lovely year for us. We did our exploration. The market is coming back for our shareholders. Maybe this is the most beauty that we get out of 2020 and go into 2021. We have a very good gift next year.
Yeah. No, I agree. Hey, it's been a crazy year, definitely a roller coaster. Here we'll end it here. Thanks for everyone for watching these. Look, your feedback obviously pushes me to get Farshad on these things. I know people love the insights, and I know in a mining company and most mining companies, news can be very sporadic. So hopefully these videos have kept people interested and up to date as well. And Farshad, I appreciate you coming on here almost on a weekly basis to give people those updates. So thanks everyone. Hope everyone has some good holidays. And Farshad, again, thanks for joining.
Thank you, Jason, for having me here. Of course, happy holidays to everyone. I hope I see you Christmas morning. Thank you.